Everybody, Stephanie Chestnut here. I am so happy that you're joining me today. So you may have noticed that I haven't been posting as many videos lately, and I apologize for that, but I just want to take a moment to chat about that. So it's not that I have stopped crafting, far from it. Crafting is still my escape, and I've been making plenty of cards. But when it comes to filming, editing, and putting together everything into a video, it's where I struggle. It's something I genuinely want to do, but I often get really bogged down in the process. So that being said, today I wanted to do two things to catch you up on some of the cards I've been working on. So even though I haven't been filming, I've still been creating, so I thought I would show you what I've been making. And then I wanted to tell you about a very exciting event coming up, and that is the Card Maker Success Summit. So I am thrilled to be part of the Card Maker Success Summit. That is a completely free multi-day card making event. It is so cool. It kicks off on Wednesday, March 19th. My personal presentation is going to be on Saturday, March 22nd. The summit is packed with incredible workshops, giveaways, bonuses. If you are a card maker, if you love crafting, you are not going to want to miss it. You can grab your free ticket by clicking down below or by visiting cardmakersuccesssummit.com to sign up. So be sure to register early so you don't miss out on any of that. So now we're going to take a look at some of the cards that I've been working on. I will quickly walk you through each design and how I made them. If there is a particular card that you'd like to see a detailed tutorial for, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to create a step-by-step video. But I wanted to show you guys what I've been working on, even though I haven't been making videos of it. So kicking it off with some of the cards I've been working on, this one features the Love die cut from Altenew, and I gave it some extra dimension by stamping it with some black pigment ink and then heat embossing it with sparkle embossing powder. That's one of my favorite methods to use. And then the background has an embossing folder from Spellbinders, which gives it a beautiful raised texture. And then these tiny gems I use on it, they're actually nail art gems. I love using these as embellishments because they're super affordable. You get a ton of gems for just a few dollars. They add a perfect subtle sparkle without overwhelming the design because they're nice and tiny. And I think I paid like $6.99 for that huge bag of them. The butterfly die cut, not die cut sticker, I'm sorry, is from Spellbinders. I like the delicate touch with that. And then I used the stencil that matches this love set to go ahead and color all of the flowers and leaves there. So these accompanying stencils with the die cut makes it really easy to get a nice look, and I love that with Altenew. They do that a lot with their sets. And then another one of my favorite things is my lazy background hack. It's this paper that I got a while ago, and it's already pre-blended and textured. And you can see it actually has like some of those spackles that we oftentimes do with paint, and it makes card making so quick and effortless. It came in so many different colors. It's a great shortcut when you want a mixed media look without all of the mess. I rounded off the corners with a punch, and then I used my Handmade by Stephanie stamp on the back. And this card came together beautifully, and it was surprisingly quick to make. So speaking of nail art gems, here's another big set I picked up for around $9, and look at how many you get in this. And I love that they come in such a wide variety of sizes. We have some really large gems to tiny, almost microscopic ones. And these ones are clear, so they actually take on the color of whatever paper you place them on, which makes them super versatile. These have become my new favorites. So this is an adorable card where I use them. Some of the elements of this card, I use the background paper. That's the same paper that I mentioned before that was kind of textured. Now, these bunnies are actually from Simon Hurley's Spellbinder collection from last spring. It is such a cute set. Comes with a lot of different sentiments as well, and that is a BetterPress plate. And then this apple blossom sprig that I have here is actually from Altenew. And this is also a BetterPress plate that I foiled, and it comes with coordinating stencils. For this card, I decided to watercolor the flowers instead of using the stencils, though. The sentiment that I used is also from Spellbinders, also a BetterPress plate, also foiled. I'm thinking you can kind of sense this theme here. And that little butterfly, same thing, BetterPress plate that I also foiled. So I also cut all these things out separately and I put them together on this card. And so I didn't have all these elements in mind when I was making this card. I basically just had these elements in my stash and went ahead and put them together. So one of the things I like to do when I'm crafting is pre-make a bunch of elements. So you can see this BetterPress plate that I did with the apple blossoms. I had a bunch of those ready to go, pre-foiled and pressed so I can grab one whenever the inspiration strikes. So that way I have lots of pieces ready to go. So this card additionally also had apples in the design, as you can see from what the foiled piece looked like. But I made a mistake while I was watercoloring it. So instead of scrapping the whole piece, that's when I decided to cut off the apples. And since I had those bunnies already made, I decided to cover up that area with bunnies. So it was a perfect fix that I think actually made the card even cuter. So I love card making because it's all about the creativity and flexibility. And sometimes just a little mistake can lead to an even better design. A while ago, I picked up a huge clearance lot from Hero Arts, and I've been having so much fun playing around with their adorable designs. And one of my favorite finds was this goldfish bowl, stamp set, goldfish die set. I think it's absolutely the cutest. So for this card, I created a shaped card, and I cut the bowl shape 4 times using different types of cardstock. For the inside layers, I used plain white cardstock, and I attached the pieces together just with a scrap piece of paper to create a hinge shaped card. And then on top, I layered the colored pieces, gluing them down to build some depth and dimension. Then for the background, I used a red rubber stamp for the bubbles, and I stamped them onto teal colored paper with a matching teal ink for kind of a soft underwater effect. And then to create a sense of depth, I did some ink blending around the edges you can see there, keeping the center lighter for like a natural glowing effect. And I used a white acrylic pen to create the kind of the highlights on that as well. The sentiment, "You're a bowl of sunshine," I stamped with black pigment ink, and then I heat embossed that with a sparkle embossing powder to give it a glossy, dimensional look. And then for the sand at the bottom of the bowl, I use sand embossing powder from Hero Arts, and it's one of my favorite embossing powders. It looks so realistic, and it adds a perfect touch for beach and underwater scenes. And then I use these clear drop embellishments that I love from Amazon to make perfect water droplets, and it gives a fun, realistic effect, like it's blowing bubbles underwater. The goldfish fancy die I cut from pre-blended distressed cardstock, similar to what I showed you in the previous cards. And that saved me so much time from having to ink blend it myself while still achieving this beautiful organic kind of color variation there. The way the goldfish layers onto the card gives it a subtle 3D effect. It makes it really pop against the background. And I just love how this one turned out. It's just a fun and unique shaped card with lots of texture and dimensions. I got this BetterPress plate a little while ago, again on clearance, and I had had my eye on it for a while because I think it's just so beautiful and elegant. It's from Hero Arts, and for this, I just BetterPressed it with black ink and letting all of the little details of this shine. And that's one of the things I really love about BetterPress is that you can get really intricate details here. And then I just added a touch of watercolor for the flowers, for the leaves. And then to embellish it, I used some of those tiny nail art gems that I had shown you before. So I don't know if you can see how much they sparkle a little bit. They're really, really tiny. They're hard to see. And this card is a great, just versatile card. It's an all-purpose design. It could be a birthday card, sympathy card, welcome to the neighborhood card. Later on in this video, I have another version of this card. I just absolutely love this set, and I think it's perfect for just in every occasion. I tied it together by layering it with some yellow and black cardstock to match the bee theme. For this next card, I got this stamp on clearance at Michael's after Christmas, and I think I actually got it for less than $1. I really like red rubber stamps for big background images, and I thought this could be used to make a simple one-layer card. I didn't end up actually making it a one-layer card. I just, had a few embellishments and a few things I popped up on foam tape, but it's mostly a one-layer card. Um, I stamped this image and then I colored it in using Copic markers. I stamped it using the Hero Arts Intensified ink, which is great because it stands up to Copic markers, it stands up to watercolor, stands up for everything. And then to add texture, I used the Hero Arts White Pearl Paste, which I also got in the Hero Arts haul that I had a little bit while ago. And you can see it adds a nice snowy effect on those bricks. This stamp originally had a bow in the design, and then I had this die cut bow in my stash along with another die cut from Spellbinders. So I decided to layer those. And then to give them a little bit of extra shimmer, I used the Wink of Stella pen for some embellishment. And then I added some extra nail art gems to be like the baubles on the Christmas tree. And then this sentiment is one that I had pre-made in my stash. This one is from Spellbinders, and it made assembly a little bit quicker that way. So even though this card looks simple, it actually took quite a lot of time, simply because of the coloring and all of the like little tiny details that go with it. But I love how it turned out, and the little wreath is such a nice focal point. These next couple cards were so fun to make. I am obsessed with this ripple water effect set from Altenew. It's a set of stencils, and I think it's absolutely stunning. So this background is a stencil technique, super easy. It's just one stencil. It gives a super cool effect. So all you do is you just ink it up with one color, and then you flip the stencil and you ink it up with a slightly different color, or you could do the same color and just add layers. And it gives this Caribbean water ripple effect that looks like sunlight shining on waves. I saw this set. I was absolutely in love. I know I'm going to have so many uses for this, and it wasn't expensive at all. So this set also I thought would be great in conjunction with this koi fish set from Altenew. It's a tiny stamp set, very, very tiny, and it comes just with the little koi and a few sentiments, and then these die cuts. And these die cuts, I cut them from shimmer vellum, and it gives this delicate, like really ethereal, almost underwater look. And for the fish themselves, I cut them out with white cardstock and did some ink blending for the base color. And then I stamped over them with the coordinating stamp set to add those little details of the spots. And then I added these water droplet gems from Amazon. I love those gems. I use them all the time, as you can tell. And then the thing is, when I make a background like this, I make several at the same time. That way, when I have a card I want to put together later, I have something ready to go without dragging out all my supplies again. So for this next card, I actually used a piece of that same background, but with a totally different vibe. So this die set is a Spellbinders Kit of the Month from several years ago, and confession, this is actually the first time that I've used it. So to get that like foamy wave effect that you see there, I actually used an embossing pen to kind of freehand along the edges. And then I added puff embossing powder, and it kind of puffs up when you heat it up. And I gives a really cool textured look. Came out even better than I expected. And even though all these little die cut pieces look a little fiddly, they actually come together pretty easily. But it does take a little organization because there are a lot of them. So a few more details. The sentiment is from Altenew. Um, and the background with the sand embossing powder, I just pressed my ink pad directly onto the paper and then used the sand embossing powder on it. Gives it a really nice, cool texture. And then the card base itself is kind of a sparkle, shimmery cardstock. So this is one of those cards that I think looks even better in person than it does on camera because of all the layers and textures. But I'm just so in love with this water ripple set. It's absolutely gorgeous. So for this next one, I'm going back to the Altenew Apple Blossom BetterPress plate again. I used it on this card, and all I did was BetterPress it in the black ink, and then went in with watercolors to add some soft color. It's super easy, but it looks really beautiful. This sentiment is one that came with the set. It's a great all-purpose sentiment to have on hand. And then I added these little Sakura rhinestones from an old Hero Arts kit, little apple blossom type things. This is a really simple one-layer card, which makes it great for mailing, no bulk, just a clean and elegant design. And this BetterPress plate has quickly become one of my new favorites because I think it's just absolutely gorgeous, fills up the whole card base, and I feel like I'm going to reach for it again and again. So sometimes when I'm not feeling particularly creative, I still want to make something, and so this card is a perfect example of that. I used all pre-made elements, which made the process quick and easy. This paper is from an Echo Park paper pack, and the stickers are simple finds from the Dollar Tree. So you don't always need expensive supplies to make something beautiful. And then the sentiment is a Simon Says stamp sentiment set, one of my favorites. You can stamp once and cut out multiple sentiments at the same time. And then finally, these gems, I just love how they catch the light. They shift to match the color behind them, which is a really nice touch. This next card is full of birthday wishes, and it features a Hero Arts fancy die cut plate. One of the things I love about this die is that it doesn't cut out completely. It keeps all the delicate pieces attached, which really gives it a unique look compared to other frame cuts. For the focal point, I used a Spellbinders BetterPress plate that I foiled using the Glimmer Press. The butterflies are also BetterPress plates that I colored then with alcohol inks to give them a vibrant blended effect, and I foiled those butterflies with that BetterPress plate. And then this is a pre-made background from Spellbinders. I love using pre-made backgrounds whenever I can because it saves so much time on ink blending while still giving a beautiful polished look. This is another very simple card. This one I made with a Be Better Press plate from Hero Arts, and I just love this design. I think it's so elegant, and I think it works beautifully for general note cards. So I like to make a bunch of these to have on hand for any occasion. For this background, I used a really quick and easy technique. So I applied some Distress Oxide inks onto my craft mat, and then I go ahead and I spritz it with some water. And then using that, I then press my cardstock into it and it creates this loose watercolor wash-like effect. It's a really effortless way to achieve a soft artistic look without spending too much time on blending. And then to finish it off, I kept it simple and colored the image with watercolors, just colored in those flowers and leaves. And then I enhanced the detail without overpowering the design. This next card features some of my favorite elements, and I love how it turned out. This features the same Altenew ripple effect background, that stencil background that I showed you earlier, but this time I added some extra shimmer using Altenew's shimmer spray. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it gives such a beautiful luminous glow in person. This shimmer spray, I use it on so many things. It's very subtle, but it adds a deep effect. For the main elements, I used a koi fish, and that is a fancy dye from Hero Arts. I absolutely love this koi fish. I actually got it in one of their mystery packets. It's delicate and intricate and just is a great focal piece. These water bubble gems are from Amazon. They add a perfect finishing touch as well. And the Shine Bright sentiment is an additional sticker that I had from my stash, and I think I picked that up at Michael's. One fun thing about this card is that I didn't actually have a full frame for it. This ripple piece was a leftover from another project, but instead of tossing it, I cut it down and layered it creatively to make it work. I love finding ways to repurpose these sorts of scraps. So here's another card that I made when I wasn't feeling particularly creative because I had all of these elements already pre-made. So I was looking for something to do, so I went through my stash and I pulled these out. And so these foil plates that I used were actually BetterPress plates for this background. And I had made several of them to have extras on hand when I want to play around later. So the Spellbinders background is absolutely gorgeous. It also has some stencils that go along with it, but I didn't use that for this, obviously. The Happy Mother's Day sentiment is from that Simon Hurley plate that also had bunnies. And the butterfly is also Spellbinders. So this card is pretty much all Spellbinders. And then, of course, I had to use those same gems, those nail art gems. And you can see how they take on this like dark blue-black tone, even though they're just the clear gems from that Amazon set. So I love how versatile those are because they really take on whatever color of the card that you are making. I love all the shimmer and glimmer to this set. Really beautiful. That background plate does all the work for this. Okay, so here's another one where I wasn't feeling particularly creative, so you're probably sensing a theme by now. So again, moments where I want to be creative, but I don't feel inspired, I oftentimes go to the paper pads, and this one is completely made from an Echo Park paper pad. The background is straight from the paper pad. The woman was actually an image I cut out from one of the sheets, and then I placed her on acetate to create this kind of coffee shop window effect. And I thought that was a fun little touch to give it some dimension. And then I added some gems up in the stars in the sky. And then the sentiment was just something I had pre-made from Spellbinders, so it was ready to go. So very simple card, but I like how it came together. I think it has a nice sophisticated feel that's kind of different from my other cards, and sometimes you need to change it up a little bit. This one is also from an Echo Park paper pad. All of these elements came from their school days paper pad, so it was just a matter of cutting out the various elements and then layering them together. I had some twine from another project, so I added that for some extra texture. And then this element I cut out by hand, and then I just put some embossing ink over it and then heat embossed it so you can see that nice bit of shine. Just clear embossing powder really makes that element stand out. Then I popped it up on some foam tape, super simple, easy to put together, makes a great card for the end of the year school, teacher gift, or thank you note. Always good to have on hand a thank you teacher card. This is another very simple card, but I think it looks just really elegant. The background is from Echo Park, so is the sentiment. This sentiment came from one of their sentiment pads originally, and it didn't have any foiling or glitter or anything like that. But this is a fun trick I like to do. I take one of these Ranger brush embossing pens, just like this, and I go over the sentiment or any decorations that I want to highlight, and then I just add some clear embossing powder and heat it up, and it completely transforms the design. It makes it look really custom, like a foiled embellishment or sparkly embellishment, even though it started as just a plain, simple printed piece. It's just a really nice way to elevate a card. Very, very easy to do. Then I added some ribbon, and this was just left over from a gift bag. So it's a fun way to repurpose materials. And then I finished it off with some gems because, you know, I like adding a little bit of bling. For this card, I used this plate from Hero Arts. And one of the things I love about this is that when you cut out the plate, you end up with all these little extra star pieces. And I always save those because they make great embellishments. You can use them as decorative accents, scatter them on a card, add them to a shaker card, and if you're using something like glitter paper, they look even more amazing. So if you ever cut out a background with a die like this, please keep those little pieces. You will find some use for them. So I cut it out on a pre-made ink blended background, like one of those pre-inked panels that I showed you guys earlier. And then behind the die cut stars, I added a layer of glitter paper to make them really pop. And these Christmastown die elements are from the Stampin' Up's Hearts Come Home collection, which is a set from a few years ago. I'm not sure if it's still available. I think it might be available still on eBay. And then the Warmest Wishes sentiment is from a Hero Arts stamp set that I got in the most recent clearance haul. For the other embellishments, I added some snowflake-shaped rhinestones for a little sparkle you can see there. And then I had this metal snowflake charm that I decided to add. I had it in my stash. I actually had bought a little bag of assorted metal snowflakes from Amazon a long time ago to add as like decorations to like gift tags and things like that. And I found I love adding them to winter cards like this. It has a nice little movement to it and gives it a nice little something special. So I think all those details really bring the card together. For this birthday card, I used an older set from Altenew. I think it's called Leaf Canopy. And I started by stamping the leaves with just regular ink. I used the Hero Arts Ombre Green ink. It's a little hard to tell that it's ombre in the final design, though. I went over that ink with the gold embossing powder, which really made the details pop. I think it just gives it a really nice touch. And I did several versions of this, so you can see that there's an outline stamp in the set. So I took the outline stamp and I stamped it in the ombre green ink across the back of the card to add some subtle dimension. So you can see there, kind of underneath the die cuts, you can see the outlines that I made and I put on the background of the card. For the assembly, I die cut those leaves and then I glued some of them flat onto the card and then I popped some up on foam tape to give it some dimension. The sentiment I had was one that I'd done from one of my sentiment making afternoons. It's from Spellbinders, and the butterfly is also from Spellbinders. I love these butterflies. I use them all the time, you'll see in my card making, because they work for so many different designs and they add a really nice focal point when you're needing a focal point, because otherwise this card might be a little bit plain. And then to finish it off, I added these little enamel accents, also from Spellbinders. They match perfectly and they tie in this kind of pink and green color theme. So lots of shimmer, sparkle, and texture, but a very simple card. So that is the end of my card stash that I was going to show you today. Let me know what you think about this format. Should I keep doing these or do you prefer the step-by-step tutorials? I also want to take a moment to say thank you for your patience and continued support. I know I've been MIA, but I truly appreciate all of you who stick around, leave comments, and continue to be part of the crafting journey. When I'm feeling down, your comments really lift me up, so I appreciate it. And again, don't forget to sign up for the Card Maker Success Summit. It is going to be an amazing event. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which card you'd like a tutorial for. Happy crafting, and I'll see you again soon.